Welcome back to the Life by Design podcast. I'm Angela Weiss, nurse practitioner, author, and founder of Life by Design Press. Each week, we talk about mental health, relationships, faith, healing, and the quiet work of becoming who you were created to be. Whether you are navigating burnout, rebuilding after loss, learning to love without losing yourself, or simply trying to live with more peace and intention, you are welcome here. So grab a cup of coffee, get cozy, take a breath, and let's begin. Before we go any further, I want to say something important. This podcast isn't meant to be perfectly polished. I am not a polished person. Those of you who know me know that too well. Sometimes life is a little messy, and honestly, that's okay. So every now and then you might hear me stumble over a word, clear my throat, excuse me. A dog might bark. A cat might wander in because they seem to want to be on the screen often, and for some reason, they get a little rowdy every time I start to record. Sometimes I record outside on a beautiful day, and you might hear the neighbors passing by in the background. I might pause for a sip of water or take a moment to gather my thoughts before finishing a sentence. All of that's okay. Life is rarely edited perfectly, though now that I think about it, in the days that we live in, life is edited quite a lot. Anyway, this podcast is meant to feel more like a conversation among friends than a production. That's really how I want it to feel, like a conversation among friends. Last week's mini mental health episode about burnout ended up becoming my most listened to episode so far. There aren't many. This is only number 5. So that tells me something. A lot of people are tired. Not just physically tired, but emotionally tired, mentally tired, exhausted, nervous system tired. And sometimes burnout doesn't disappear the moment life starts to slow down. Sometimes the body needs longer to recover than our schedule allows for us to. So today I want to talk about something a lot of people might not realize. The quiet signs your nervous system may still be in survival mode. When people hear the word burnout, they often imagine someone who's overwhelmed with work, overwhelmed with the deadlines that they're struggling to meet, long hours, constant pressure from every direction. But burnout doesn't only come from work. It can come from long-term stress, being a caregiver, relationship strains, grief, emotional responsibility, or simply being the person that everyone else seems to always be depending on. Sometimes burnout builds slowly over time, over months, over years. And when the nervous system lives in a pressure like that for such a long time, it adapts. It learns to operate in survival mode. Your nervous system is designed to protect you. When it senses danger or stress, it activates what we call the fight or flight response. Sometimes you might feel like your heart rate is increasing, feeling like it's going to beat out of your chest. Stress hormones rise, your attention narrows, your energy shifts towards survival mode. And that response is extremely helpful in short bursts. But when stress becomes chronic, the nervous system may stay partially activated for long periods of time, which means even when life becomes calmer, the body may still feel like it's preparing for the next crisis. And this is why people sometimes say things like, life is actually okay right now, but man, do I feel exhausted. Or I finally have time to rest, but I don't even know how to rest. I don't know how to relax. I don't know how to slow down. That's often the nervous system slowly learning that the danger has passed. There are several quiet signs that your nervous system may still be recovering from burnout. These signs often appear subtle at first, but they matter. One of the most common is persistent fatigue. Even when life becomes calmer, the body may still feel depleted, and you might feel like, regardless of how much rest you've gotten, you're still tired. Burnout drains both physical and emotional reserves. Recovery often takes longer than you expect. And that's not laziness, it's biological recovery. Another common sign is difficulty feeling motivated again. You may notice that tasks that once felt manageable now require more effort to begin. You might struggle to get started on that task. Burnout can temporarily affect the brain's motivation and reward systems. Sometimes people become frustrated with themselves during this phase, but often the brain is simply just asking for more recovery time in between that task, this task, and the next task. And it's more than the mind expected. A third sign is called emotional numbness. Some people expect relief when stress decreases. Instead, they feel oddly flat. Not deeply sad, but not particularly joyful either. This emotional quietness can be the nervous system stabilizing after prolonged stress. Feelings usually return gradually as the body regains a sense of safety. I don't know if you can hear my cats in the background, but they certainly don't suffer from burnout. Another interesting sign is difficulty relaxing. Ironically, people recovering from burnout sometimes struggle to slow down. When the nervous system has spent a long time operating in urgency, stillness can feel very unfamiliar. And you may find yourself reaching for your phone, adding tasks to your day, or feeling restless when things go quiet, feeling like you've constantly got to be doing something. That's conditioning. And conditioning can be gently retrained. You might also notice irritability over the smallest things that you would not have normally gotten irritable over. When the nervous system is depleted, patience tends to shrink. Small frustrations may feel bigger than they ever did before. Traffic, minor inconveniences, noise, doesn't matter. It all just feels like it's huge. This often reflects nervous system fatigue rather than your personality. One of the hardest things about burnout recovery is that healing rarely happens quickly. We live in a culture that values productivity and speed. We want everything now. We want to fix it quickly, move on quickly, get through it quickly, be strong quickly, get over it quickly. But the nervous system heals at a biological pace, not a productivity pace. Sometimes the most helpful thing we can do is reduce pressure instead of adding more expectations. Recovery often begins with small signals of safety. Things like consistent sleep, time outdoors, less multitasking, routines, creative outlets, quiet moments, or simply allowing yourself to rest without guilt. Over time, the nervous system learns that it no longer needs to stay on high alert. Safety starts to feel familiar again. If you recognize yourself in any of this, I also want to share something with you. I wrote a book called Burnout is Not a Personal Failure: Why the World is Exhausting and Why It's Not Because You're Weak. In this book, I talk about something many people feel but rarely hear acknowledged. Burnout has been framed as a personal problem for far too long. A failure of resilience, a failure of mindset, a failure of motivation. But what if your exhaustion isn't a character flaw? What if it's a normal human response to an inhuman pace of life? In Burnout is Not a Personal Failure, I explore why so many capable, caring, responsible people are breaking down under modern life, and why it's not because they're weak. The book looks at things like why modern life and work have become unsustainable, how emotional labor and invisible responsibility quietly drain us, what chronic stress does to the nervous system and the body, why self-care alone can't solve structural burnout, and why caregivers, helpers, and high responsibility people often burn out first. This is not a hustle book. It's not a productivity book. And it's not a book about pushing through. It's a book about telling the truth about what you've been carrying, letting go of the story that you were the problem, and understanding your exhaustion with clarity and compassion. and beginning to imagine a life that doesn't require you to override yourself just to survive it. Burnout is Not a Personal Failure is available on Amazon. I think it's a pretty good book. You should get it. And if today's conversation resonated with you, I've also created a burnout reflection packet that's free. It includes a few simple reflection exercises and questions designed to help you better understand what your nervous system may have been carrying. And I would love to share this with you. If you'd like a copy, you can email me at angela@lifebydesignpress.org and simply put burnout in the subject line, and I'll send it to you. My email, again, will be in the show notes. Before we finish today, I want you to know how this space works. On Sundays, we slow down together with faith conversations about hope, healing, and trusting God during the seasons that don't always make sense yet. On Tuesdays, we go deeper into relationships, emotional health, burnout, and personal growth. And on Thursdays, I'll share these shorter mini mental health episodes with simple insights that you can carry into everyday life right away. You don't have to listen to everything, and you don't have to agree with everything. Come when you need it. Stay as long as it helps. I'm just here to do the best I can to simplify mental health topics. Before we finish today, I want to gently remind you that this podcast is for education and reflection only, and listening does not create a therapeutic or provider relationship with me, and it's not a substitute for individualized medical or mental health care. If you are struggling, if you feel unsafe, please reach out for support. In the United States, you can call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Because every person's situation is unique, I'm not able to provide individual medical or mental health advice through this podcast, social media, or messaging platforms. Wherever you are listening today, whether you're driving or walking or folding laundry or doing whatever, simply sitting quiet for a moment, I hope that you feel a little less alone. If this conversation helped you, please consider sharing it with someone who else might need to hear it as well. And remember that healing rarely happens all at once. It grows quietly through small choices that are made with intention. So take what you need, leave what you don't, and keep living your life by design. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you.